you be when you get married? Okay, one 10-year-old Johnny said 84. Because then you're retired, you don't have to work, and you can spend all your time loving each other in the bedroom. That was his. Tell he hasn't been there. Another was asked, when do you know when you should kiss the girl? And Jason said, never kiss her until you have enough bucks for a ring and a VCR. You're going to want videos of the wedding. So that was his advice. Here's one more. How do you make love last? Sarah said, don't forget her name. That makes love go really bad. Well, I'm going to read to you from the book of Colossians, 4 verses, and this sets the bar a little higher than that. And here's what Paul writes. Put on then, because God's chosen ones, holy and beloved, compassion, kindness, humility, meekness, patience, bearing with one another. If one has a complaint against another, forgiving each other, as the Lord has forgiven you, so you also must forgive. And above all these, put on love, which binds everything together in perfect harmony. And let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts, to which indeed you were called in one body, and be thankful. So I was reading that, verses 13 and 14. There's a kind of a list there of things, and it says, put on love, which binds all these together. And so here's a way to remember this passage. I want you to think of a rainbow. And a rainbow is formed when light hits a raindrop at 42 degrees. Okay? And it's refracted, and it makes this array of 7 different major colors in the sky. And of course, we know that was a sign that, Scripture says that was a sign that God gave to Noah. But I'm going to give you another thing to think about when you see a rainbow. I want you to think of this verse. And I think of love as kind of like light. And when it gets refracted, it gets refracted into these 7 qualities: compassion, kindness, humility, meekness, patience, forbearance, and forgiveness. That list, there's 7 things there. And I want to encourage you, when you think of a rainbow, to think of the different ways that God has called you to love each other. It's also the word love there. It's not the romantic love that he uses. He could have used that. It's when he says, put on, above all, put on love. He doesn't talk about even the friendship kind of love. He talks about the agape, which is just an unconditional choice that you make. And so I want to encourage you that, as you think about this, that this is a choice that you make. So this is a kind of love that you say, I'm going to be compassionate regardless of how I might feel about it, or maybe regardless of what the other person has done. And so it's a commitment to do it. I was reading an account of a little girl. She had a first grader over for dinner, and the mother had a bowl of broccoli, and she said, you like broccoli? The little girl said, I love broccoli. And so when the broccoli came by, she just passed it on by. And so the mother said, I thought you said you love broccoli. She said, well, I do, but not enough to eat it. And so I don't know what you will do with this passage, but what makes it powerful is when you do it. When you actually do it, when you live this out in your relationship. I don't think anyone would disagree with these. In fact, you don't have to be religious to agree that being compassionate, kind, humble, being patient, forbearing, forgiving is a good thing to do in a relationship. But there's something interesting that, and I'm just going to read a couple other verses here that go before this, because you won't often hear this read with this passage. But here's what he writes right before this. Put to death, therefore, what is earthly in you: impurity, evil passion, covetousness, which is idolatry. In these you once walked. Now you must put away anger, wrath, malice, any kind of coarse talk from your mouth. Do not lie to each other. But you must put off the old self with its practices and put on the new self, which is being renewed in the knowledge after the image of its creator. And so what this is basically saying is that God is seeking to renew you, to make you like him, to make you as generous as he is, to make you as forgiving as he is, to make you as caring as he is. And so I want to challenge you that every couple that stands where you do has the same dream, and they have the same desire, and they have the same commitments of love. But how you're able to work that out is going to depend on whether you put this on, because it doesn't always come naturally in your relationship. There'll be times when you don't want to be compassionate, and you don't want to forgive, and you don't want to be patient, and you don't want to be forbearing. And so this is a kind of love that says, you know what, I'm going to choose to do that. I'm going to choose to do that, and I'm going to ask God for the power to choose to do that. Because there'll come a day when one of you isn't compassionate, and one of you isn't kind, and one of you isn't patient. And it's in those moments where eventually one of you has to choose to put this on. And that's what makes a marriage work. I think marriage is a lot more about not finding the right person, but I think it's about being the right person. There was a guy who went through a divorce, and several years later he worked in an elderly care center. And he visited with a lot of people that had been married like 50 or 60 years. And so as he talked with them, he wrote his conclusion in just a brief paragraph. And what he basically concluded was people with long-term marriages, it's not that they found the right person, it's that they became the right person. And it's like, okay, this is who I'm with, and I'm going to choose to love this person. And so that's kind of my challenge to you as a couple today, is that you make a choice that you're going to live out. You're going to live out those different colors of the rainbow in your marriage, and you're going to choose to do that. And when you don't feel like it, you can ask God for the power to be able to do that. Let me just read one other. There's a reading I read at just about every wedding. It's probably my favorite one. And just a couple paragraphs here. Every married person I know wonders at times if they married the wrong person. For that reason, we need something more than a relationship built on emotions of the moment. We need something big enough to envelop circumstances rather than be enveloped by them. The old wedding vows set out the commitment, better or worse, richer or poor, sickness and in health, to love, cherish, till death do us part. Puritans called marriage the little church within the church, a place to test and develop spiritual character. Everyday marriage calls both partners to love, forgive, and stay faithful. Hard work that only makes sense if we are convinced somehow we are participating in an alternate history, one set in eternity. For most of us, it takes years, perhaps a lifetime, to realize what unity with another person means. We learn each other's strengths and weaknesses. We work out power sharing. We learn when to probe, when to back off, when to soothe, when to challenge. And then gradually a second love emerges. And only after a long time and considerable effort, something new comes into being. A unity sealed by God which enables you to face economic pressures, relocation, illness, loss of family, friends, as well as the delights that attracted you to each other in the first place. And then he writes this, I went into marriage thinking love would hold us together, and I learned instead that it would require marriage to teach me what love means. And so you are engaging on a long-term education as to what it means to really love another person and live with another person. And I just think this passage in Colossians is a great model to follow. Ethan, it's been good getting to know you. 5:45 on Wednesday mornings. That's pretty impressive. We had a group of guys that got together early in the morning, and I really enjoyed those times. Really enjoyed getting to know you. I enjoyed traveling to Tennessee with you. And I enjoy your sharp mind, your inquisitive mind, you're a reality guy, and always looking at the reality of something. And I think you have I think whatever you set your heart to do, I think you can accomplish in your life. And so I appreciate that about you. This passage in Colossians, that's what sets the soil that will help enable this gal that you are standing across from to blossom, to continue to bloom throughout her life. And so, and as you live that out, you will set a soil. And Paul said in Ephesians, he says, the wise man cares for his wife like his own body, because he realizes that you guys are going to be living together a long time. And so I want to just encourage you to realize that there's a soil there that you are creating in this marriage. And Elizabeth, remember the Chinese restaurant, first time I met you? Yeah, how old were you? Probably 5 or 6. 5 or 6. Your mother told you couldn't say anything unless you were asked another question. And you have always been the inquisitive one. And that's one of the things I love about you. You're unique, you're inquisitive. And I was also thinking about, you know, I was just thinking about what God has in store for you and what He's going to use you for in your life. And I think that your mind, and that's something that God's really going to use. And I have a feeling that's one of the things that has attracted Ethan to you. And so I am just looking forward to what God has for you as well. And both of you are, I've learned that both of you are fairly stubborn. So here's my closing challenge to you. Use that stubbornness, harness that stubbornness to say, I'm going to live out these qualities in our marriage no matter what comes our way. And I think as you do that, you will find God blessing you in powerful ways. And just be tenacious about that. Don't allow your lives to be controlled by your emotions or your feelings, but allow them to be controlled by this kind of love that Paul outlines here. Let's pray. Father, I thank you for this couple, and you have uniquely created both of them. And it's that uniqueness that has brought them together. It's that uniqueness that has attracted them to one another. And so we just celebrate that with them today. We thank you for their their love for life. And I pray that as they venture out, as this adventure not only begins but continues on, that they would find that ability to love one another well, and to be compassionate and understanding and kind and forbearing and patient and forgiving. And may those qualities just permeate their lives as long as they both show them. And we thank you for this today. In Jesus' name, amen. I'm going to have you hand your flowers off, Elizabeth, and I'm going to ask if you guys would share your vows at this time with one another. Ethan, we'll start with you.
Okay. Elizabeth, from Islam, right after we met, we've basically been best friends since then. We've shared everything together, good experiences, bad experiences, boring ones, and I just want to promise to keep sharing everything with you forever, as we go forward. All the new stuff, the new places, the bad days at work, the boring days. I promise to support you through school, your goals, and your career, and eventually when we start a family together. And you've been there for me at my best moments and my worst moments, and I can't imagine it any other way. And I love you.
Today, I'm lucky to marry my best friend of 6 years. You've demonstrated many times that friendship isn't transactional, but I still want to reciprocate for you some things you've shown. I promise to take time to listen, even when it isn't convenient, like you did before we were dating, and you would answer my phone calls or texts even in the middle of the night. Also, If you ever get really sick and can't do anything, I promise to take care of you, but also just sit with you so we can do nothing together. And if you ever don't do these things, then I promise to keep trying to, because we're both just humans doing our best and we're both going to fail sometimes, and I'll still be your friend. I promise to not keep that hidden. In fact, I'll even relax my personal space bubble for you. I promise to support you in your success and failure and in my success and failure, because when one of us wins, we both win, and when one of us loses, we both lose. I also promise to try new things from time to time within reason. I love you now, and I will love you as long as we both live.
So as a symbol of these vows, I'm asking you to exchange rings at this time. Even as you place this on Elizabeth's hand, I want you to repeat after me. I give you this ring as a symbol of my love. Elizabeth, also as you place this ring on Ethan's hand, I give you this ring as a symbol of my love. What God has joined together, let no one separate, and I pronounce you to be husband and wife.